All right. It seems like I chosen the wrong microphone setting. All right. Welcome, everybody. Can you guys hear me and see the slideshow? Okay, great. All right. So I will begin in a few minutes, but actually, hold on. Actually, let me record this. And to anybody out there, yes, you may record this panel. All right. Perfect. So it looks like we have 4 people. And so the reason why I am hosting this panel, oh, it's on the wrong slide. Okay. By recording, I meant personally recording through OBS. My mistake. Get that mouse cursor out of there. Okay. So the reason why I'm hosting this panel is because I've been to a lot of online conventions, and people have said, oh, this is my first convention. I've never been to a real convention yet. So I thought I would make a panel just educating people on what it's like to go to a real life furry con, the step-by-step process, what to do, how to plan it, the usual basics. Now, everybody's experience to the to a furry convention is going to be way different than somebody else's, but I'm going to go through the common things that people will do to go to a furry convention. Now, a convention is more accessible if it's closer to you, of course. And not everybody close to the convention will rent out a hotel room. But we'll go through hotel booking and getting passports and just what's available at a furry convention. Looks like we have 7 people. All right, that's good. Now, so I'm recording in a program called VR Chat. That's what I'm using to show my avatar. Before we actually begin, I did just want to say, in the VR Chat community, there was a furry who recently committed suicide, and I just wanted to say there's help out there. If there are people who care. This is unrelated to the panel, but I just wanted to say there's a lot of people who've been coming to me all down and everything. That there is help out there. Just don't give up. Okay. Without out of the way. Oh, 10 people. Perfect. Let's have more people come in. All right. So it looks like it is exactly 12 o'clock. All right. Perfect. Well, for me, that is. All right. So let me begin the slideshow. Whenever I do scroll down, however, it will have to block me out for a minute, but I will go to the second slide and then pop back into VR chat. There we go. So just a little bit about me. My name is Mirren, and my persona is a Tanuki. I joined the fandom in 2013. I'm from the US, actually, from Florida. Megaplex is my home state con, and I am a I'm a huge fan of VR, cyberpunk, and writing and everything. In fact, I help document online furry conventions for WikiFur. Not officially, because it's a open book type of editing website. But there's my contacts if you're free to reach me out to. And that's my convention list. I've been to many in real life conventions, but there's a separate list for online cons too. Wiki for Addicted too. All right. I'll be answering questions that come into the chat as long as it's related to the slide. Aside from that, I will answer questions at the end. Okay. Now let me paste the URL to the article in case you guys want to follow along. Now, this presentation compared to what I have actually has useful links that you might want to click on if you have a question regarding a certain term. Like, for example, Anthrocon is in purple right there. If you want to learn more about Anthrocon, there's a URL there that you can click on, and it'll take you to the WikiFur page. All right, so a big misconception about furry conventions is that actually a lot of people say, hey, do I need a fursuit to go to one? No, you don't. The International Anthropomorphic Research Project conducted a survey for many years so far, and they have been saying in a study that about 10 to 15 furries actually own a fursuit, whether it's partial or full. A lot of people intend to get one, which I don't blame them. I always wanted one. But no, you actually don't need a fursuit. And the source is down there, even though this survey was conducted in 2018. Still credible. It's not like there's actually any official researchers studying furries, but this is the closest we have to a professional research team in the furry community. You'll sometimes see this team at popular conventions, and I've seen them every single year at Anthrocon, and I love filling out their surveys. All right, so you can also cosplay at furry conventions if you don't have a fursuit. Now, there's no problem at all with dressing up as a cosplay, from an anime or a video game. Just keep in mind that each convention has different policies on prop weapons, whether it's foam, plastic. Just check into the code of conduct just for more information on that, but feel free to contact the convention staff if you're still unsure. So Carl says, relatedly, a lot of non-con goers ask me how I even go to cons without a fursuit. Well, because it's fun. Yes, it's really fun going with or without a fursuit. I mean, sure, a fursuit may enhance the experience and the interactions you have with convention attendees, but again, it's not necessary. It's not a requirement. In fact, there are many fursuiters who love having non-suitors come up to them and take a picture with them or just playing with them. All right, next slide. Now, there's usual slangs and terms that you hear at furry conventions. Some are Anthrocon specific because I've been to Anthrocon the most, but you'll even see some of these terms at this convention, like the Dealer's Den and the Artist Alley. Now, there's URLs to each of these terms if you want to learn more about it, but Dealer's Den is a vendor booth. Artist Alley is just like a vendor booth, but for artists specifically. Now, a room party, it's a hotel room party with convention attendees. Sometimes booze is involved, some isn't. It's really fun going to a room party. I gotta admit, my first room party was at my first con. There's a dead dog dance, which is kind of like a tradition at furry conventions, which is a raver dance party that's on the final night or the day after the convention's over. And we have a dead dog dance tonight, as Loveless says. Great, thanks. Now, before I attended my first convention, I had trouble explaining the difference between a convention badge and a Fursona badge. I had to ask people for help on the difference between them. Now, a convention badge is a badge that you will receive upon registering at a convention. You will need to wear it all the time whenever you're on convention grounds. Now, a Fursona badge is a art badge of your Fursona artwork. It's not a requirement to have a Fursona badge either, but it's fun to wear one and commission artists to make it one. But really, you do need a convention badge, and you'll get that after registering. Now, a panel. This is actually a panel. A panel is a event at a convention that will discuss a certain topic, whether it's like voice acting or writing or going to an in real life furry convention. This one's a little bit of a different panel because this one is held in VR rather than through a webcam or in person. But I guarantee you that if I host a panel at an in real life convention, I don't think there's any way that I will be able to host it in VR chat. So this is a very unique panel for everybody watching. It looks like we have 27 people. Amazing. All right. Yes, as Glenn Lyon says, the first badge, the convention badge, is a requirement, but the second one is optional. For those of you who are joining in, if you scroll up a little bit, there's a Google Doc URL for those who want to follow along, and the Google Doc will have URLs that you could click on if you want to learn more about a certain thing. Now, Dorsai Irregulars. They are convention security volunteers that have been around since the 80s. Not all conventions have them, but most major conventions do. Anthrocon, I think FWA and Megaplex. I don't know if Megaplex has it. They might have to correct me on that. But I think they're in red vests from what I remember. But the Dorsai Irregulars are very respectful people in the community. They're previous military members, and they do a kick-ass job at protecting conventions. Just always think a Dorsai Irregular whenever you go see one. So another common place you would see at a convention is called the zoo. It's a general hangout area with a bunch of chairs and tables, and people will do various things such as discuss and draw art and play board games. It's just a fun general con area that people could just sit down and relax at. I know this is specific to Anthrocon, but I'm pretty sure that some other major conventions have one as well. Um, but yeah, the zoo. If basically if you just don't really have anything you do, or if you want to just have some downtime, hang out with people and talk with others, the zoo is a good place to do that. Uh, Arashi says that Megaplex did have a zoo last year. Okay, good to know. Oh, con crud. Con crud is next on that list. You never want to get con crud, but it's an illness, just getting sick during or after a convention. And we'll be going over hygiene later, but always wash your hands and just don't hug anybody stinky. And please bathe before, during, and after conventions. I beg of you. But fun fact, I'm actually the first person who's ever contracted a case of online con crud. And I got pink eye after a convention called Furry Online Experience. um, Now, GOH, it's short for guest of honor, and most conventions will have a guest of honor, whether it's a voice actor or a popular artist or fursuiter. Um, oh, Karina has gone to Furry Online Experience. Amazing. Now, Lanny asks, or Lena, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Was that the one on VR Chat? Yes, it was. And I plan on going to the next Furry. All right. GOH is guest of honor. Now, the phases to a successful furry convention. Uh, it's a step-by-step process, but you got to plan, and then you got to register and purchase things. Then you got to pack. Then you travel, set up everything, and then you have your experience. That's the fun part. And then after that, you go home and possibly suffer from post-con depression. And we're going to go through all of these steps. All right, next slide. So the first phase is planning your convention. Oh, hold on, let me read the comment real quick. Carl says, I generally manage to avoid con crud despite hugging a lot of suitors. And my partner almost always gets it despite avoiding hugs. It's a matter of time in my case. Now, everybody's immune system is different, so people are more susceptible to con crud than others, which is why it's really important from everybody to keep their hygiene in check. Now, the first phase of going to a furry convention is planning. Now, of course, if you have a furry convention in Malaysia and you live in America, of course, that's very less achievable than, say, a convention in your state or prefecture or region. Now, it's very important to keep in mind that you can afford the convention. You could go to it. Just the most important thing before jetting off is just seeing if you can afford it. You got to manage your expenses, and it's not just important for going to conventions, but it's also very helpful for everyday living and just keeping yourself in check in real life. Now, second step to phase one is just making sure that your people are okay with it. Your coworkers, your bosses, your friends groups, like your D&D sessions or the chess club, who knows? Who do you need to talk to before stepping out for a weekend or maybe a week? Now, of course, it's always good to discuss with your boss or your teachers. Is it, can I just take a weekend vacation? Because that's what generally a furry con is. It's you just take a weekend away from home and you come back the following Monday or Tuesday. That's very common because furry conventions usually begin on Fridays, if not Thursdays, and usually end on a Sunday or a Monday. I think the longest convention I've seen was like 5 days or something. I forgot which one. Now, you also have to look into hotel pricing and availability. If you live nearby, surely enough, you wouldn't have a problem getting to the convention center. But if you're traveling to a different state or a city, of course, you got to look into where you're going to stay. Um, okay. Uh, but hotel pricing is very important, and so is convenience because you don't want to walk 2 miles to a furry convention. I've had to do that before. I got screwed over into doing that before. But just be very careful where you're booking. And honestly, if I got to give you some advice, if you're going to Anthrocon, do not stay at the West End because the elevator lines are very horrible. I think it was 40 minutes last year, and it would have been quicker to walk to the hotel and like to another hotel and back in that time. So just be careful where you're booking, how much you're spending on the hotel, and it's a very common practice to room with people just be careful with who you're booking with. Just be a little cautious. But um, it's very common to room with people if you're a young adult or just a common member in the fandom. Um, if you're a younger person, maybe like 17 younger, I would definitely probably try getting a hotel room with your parents because that's what I did whenever I was young. Um, Now, how are you getting to the convention? Are you going through plane? Are you going to take a train? Are you driving? I'm sorry, are you driving? Because commuting with other people, I've also seen another common practice where people will hitch a ride to the convention with another person through their car. But of course, it's the least priority that needs to be considered because hotel will book out and sometimes registration will too. But getting to the convention is probably your least priority because you can always book a plane last minute or probably drive there too if you have a license. Now, phase two, registration and purchases. You got to be sure you got to buy all of this stuff first. You got to buy your convention registration. Typically, it's about $40 to $60 for a major convention. You got to buy your hotel room where you're staying at. You got to buy transportation fees, your plane or your carpool, and you got to pack your essentials too. Do you have enough medication or food for the trip? And just be prepared to spend money on post-airport transportation. If you're flying there, you got to hire a taxi to take you to the convention center itself. Now, Carl says, and please, please, please do not under budget. He did that for his first con despite being local and him just commuting. He underestimated how many times he'd eat at restaurants with other furs and how much he'd buy in the dealer's den. And we will talk about that too. But post-airport transport fees, you got to hire a taxi sometimes to get there. Sometimes the hotel will be the convention center. So, look, I'm sorry, or even the airport. Like an airport might have a convention center out there, so it'd be easy access. You just gotta order. Just be prepared to spend money on restaurants. If you're coming to America from another country, just keep in mind that if you're sitting at if you're eating at a sit-down restaurant, please tip the waiter or waitress 15 to 20% of your meal. This is crucial because it's taboo if you do not tip your waiter or waitress. Always keep hydrated. Spend money on water, no matter what. If you find a water fountain, be sure it's clean. You don't want to get sick or con crud. Be prepared to spend money on dealer den purchases. Just be careful to limit it because I have impulse spent before and spent maybe a little over $300 at a single con for vendors. Again, dealer's den is arts and merchandising from different vendors. But you eventually will buy dealer den things. It's very fun to take it home. Just be sure not to buy something gigantic and then realize, oh, it won't fit in my suitcase, because I have done that before. I once bought a $30 giant Pikachu plush and I was like, what the heck am I doing? It's not even going to fit in my suitcase. So I had to give it to a local friend, give it up. Another good tip from moderator Shadow: don't leave without money because you always got to have extra for emergencies. That is true. In case if your hotel roommates don't decide it won't work out, you got to have money for a hotel room or another roommate. Now, Carl also says, also a thing that came to me biting budget wise is hotel parking. Oh yes, good idea. If you're driving to the convention, be prepared to spend money on parking. I should have added that in, especially in downtown cons. Now, unexpected hotel fees, whether your roommate accidentally grabbed a snack or a beverage from the mini fridge, maybe there was a noise complaint and you have to pay a fee for that. Don't forget to tip the cleaner too if you're coming to America. Maybe leave like a $10 or a $20 bill on top of the bedside table whenever you're leaving. The con, like leaving the con, not per day. And be prepared to spend money for charity donations. Now, don't forget, Care Foundation is the charity for Megaplex. So don't forget to donate to them. Go to the charity auction. Let's try to get a big turnout for this year. Now, bottom line right here, at the bottom of the slide says, be careful not to purchase things on impulse if on a budget, and that's very important. Correct. 12:16. Okay, good. I have 45 minutes to go. All right, and phase 3, packing. We'll cover more on the next slide, but just be conservative of what you're going to want and need for a few days. And if you're flying, just make sure your essentials are in your carry-on. Like you put it overhead over your seat, not not stow it away if you're bringing extra luggage. This is your wallet, your passport, your phone, and keys, and everything. Be sure you have a few sets of clothing, especially if you're going to a cold country or a city, or in winter months. Hold on, I gotta read the comments. Okay. Snacks for the rotor flight. It's going to be important because you don't want to bother stopping and getting a snack or a hot dog or something on the way there, or ordering food on the plane if you got to pay for it. Your toiletries. This is your toothbrush, your toothpaste, your comb. Hotels will provide soap and shampoo. Medicine. That's a very important passport if you're leaving the country. It's also a really good idea to bring printed copies of your registration purchase and receipt, and purchases for your airline ticket or your hotel reservation. And if possible, try to invest in a padlock or two for your luggage, because luckily I haven't been involved in or I'm sorry, luckily I haven't been a victim of theft, but again, you just can't be too careful. I think you're more vulnerable at an airport or a bus station than at an actual convention. But again, you can never be too careful. I have a couple padlocks that I put on my luggage. You're kind of screwed if you if you're rooming with the lockpicking king. I forgot what his name was on YouTube, but he's very good at lockpicking. Now, non-essential packing. If you have a little bit more room, or if you have the money to stow more things in another suitcase, bring your fursuit, your cosplay, and possibly a repair kit in case your fursuit rips. Definitely bring a fursuit box fan or coolers to keep everything not sweaty. Bring cards or video games, because conventions will have rooms specifically for that if it's a larger con. Another good thing, I bring a laundry net bag. Like it's a mesh net that you can fold out, and then you can put clothes in. It's very portable, and doesn't take barely any room in your suitcase. So bring a laundry net bag. Bring some extra snacks if you can help it, and possibly more clothes, because you can never never go wrong with more clothes. Just again, be sure you have enough room for merchandising. If you're rooming with people and you have room for it in your suitcase, maybe bring earplugs and a sleeping mask. You don't know how loud they are, how loud they snore, or if they're going to be using their phone or watching TV at night. That's fine. But again, don't forget that you may be coming home with more than what you brought. Again, dealers' merchandise could be a hassle to pack back up, and I deal with this every con. So I just started leaving less and less things in my suitcase as time went on. Blinky says regarding the lockpicks, please change the lock as soon as you're out of the plane. TSA locks can be picked up by a 3-year-old with no experience. I've never heard of that before, but again, you can never be too careful. All right. Now you're on your way to the convention. You're traveling. So be sure that your phone battery is charged as much as possible, maybe a spare if you can help it. Communication's very important with your loved ones and roommates. Make sure they know you're leaving and when you're getting to the airport and whenever you arrive. If you're flying, arrive at the airport a couple hours early. It's a common rule. It'll give you ample time to go through airport security and get to your terminal and the gate. Now, keep an eye on the time, of course. But after leaving the airport, how will you get to your destination? Taxi, a bus, maybe even ride sharing? Just explore some options, but again, just be wary of scammers if you're traveling internationally, because it will happen. But if you're driving, just be sure you're well rested before getting behind the wheel, and heck, just maybe let a friend drive if you're tired, because again, car crashes are very common, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Oh yes, there we go. Some hotels provide parking to guests, but it's a good idea to find a parking garage close by if it's all booked up. Moderator Shadow says, if you don't know the roomies you're staying with, use a lock. Oh, yes, for sure. That's true. Now, setting up. So you're at the convention or the hotel. It's almost time, and you've arrived there. But if you're rooming with others as a guest, just let them know that you have access. I'm sorry, if you're the host of a room, just make sure your roommates know, hey, you're there. Like, because they could be traveling separately from you. Just let me know you got access to the room. Tell them the room number, because you don't know how many times I've had to wait on people. Give me the room number, because I've waited in hotel lobbies for a couple hours before they finally responded back. Hey, I'm in room 621 or something. Just keep in mind that people are waiting for you there. Some people will get there early. Just let them know as soon as you're on your way or getting there, or if you booked, if you're at the hotel already. Now, whenever you go into the room for the first time, just make sure everything's functional. Check the air conditioning, most important, the locks on the door, the wall sockets. Make sure you can charge your phone, the shower, the toilet, and the toiletries, and check for bed bugs. I've never dealt with it before, but always check, because you can never be too careful. Now, once everything's all great and done with the hotel, just focus on the convention. When is it going to start? When is registration? And if you're a vendor at the artist alley or dealer den, you might want to go down to registration earlier than when registration starts, because you want to set up your booth. Now, I don't have any experience as a vendor or artist, but what I've witnessed, people will go into the artist alley or dealer stand to set up early. They're usually allowed to do that, but check with con staff, and they should let you do that. Aside from that, let's see, just make sure I'm not missing anything on this slide for sure. All right, make sure you have your documents ready for registration. Again, your printed copies of your registration receipt, and now it's time for the convention, the fun part. Now, before getting in the registration line, seek a convention goodie bag. Most major cons will do this. Anthrocon, FWA, and Megaplex all do this. It may contain a convention booklet, maybe a poster, and it will contain an event schedule. And you can always access an online event schedule too. Reading comments, sorry. Yes, Cranston, we will talk about the 621 role in a little bit. Again, not all conventions have goodie bags, but it's good reading material for when you're in line, because you will be in line for about an hour or two, maybe longer if you're at a major con. Now, very important rule, because I have made this mistake before. There are different lines. There's on-site registration and there's pre-registration. Sometimes they're sorted by super sponsor, or regular pre-registration. And some conventions, and I know Anthrocon recently started doing this, sorting by last name, like A through K, or maybe J through L or something. Just make sure you're in the right line, and if not, please ask a convention staff member, because you don't want to waste an hour or two of your life. And I have done this before. It's a common mistake. So, I'm sorry, I didn't finish that last segment on that panel, or I'm sorry, on that slide. Just greet your fellow con members, socialize, talk with them. Hey, what are you into? Or what do you like doing? What do you do for a living? It's good to socialize and network with people when you're in line, but really, you're just at the convention. You're on vacation. Just relax and have a good time. Again, be careful of pickpockets. I haven't dealt with that before, but just wander around the convention center and go to the dealer den when it opens. Just take lots of pictures, because it's really good memories. And I regret not taking pictures during my my third con, actually. But just go shopping around the area of the city. Just find some good restaurants to eat at. But again, just always stay close to the convention center, because you don't want to stray too far and be vulnerable to mugging. Unfortunately, it's sad that we have to deal with that, but just take it easy. You're on vacation. Now, some highlighted activities you'll find at most conventions. There are game rooms, both board games and video games. I spent my first few cons just staying most of the time in the game rooms. That was one of my first mistakes, but it's not really a mistake if you're having fun at a furry con. The reason why I just kind of regret it a little bit is because you can spend your entire summer playing video games anyway. But hey, you can meet some new people. Maybe you can get involved in an esport because some conventions will have gaming tournaments. Just like here at Megaplex Online, there was a Mario Kart tournament. There's charity events, and once again, I'm going to say, please donate to the Care Foundation, Megaplex's charity. There's different charity events at most conventions. There's probably a charity raffle or a charity auction. I just said oxygen. Oh boy. Anthrocon has this feature called the Bucket Brigade, where fursuiters will go around with a bucket collecting bills or coins to donate to the selected charity. But it's very good to get involved in these events because again, you're doing good for helping a nonprofit organization. There's nighttime raves. Megaplex Online did this too, and Megaplex does this in person as well. I don't think I've been to a single con without a night rave. It's really fun to go to them, but I actually recreated the feeling of staying up until 2 in the morning, walking back to my hotel room all sweaty, and taking a shower without waking up my roommates. I recreated that feeling last night at the rave. Thank you, Megaplex Online. The dead dog dance, we described that already in the last panel, or a couple of slides ago. It's one last rave before the convention's over. It's usually the last night of or the night after the convention. Let me just check, see if I'm not missing any comments. No, I will say again, if you guys are just joining us, if you scroll up, you can find a copy of this presentation, and there are clickable URLs for more explanation on certain subjects. Music performances, Fox Amore is pretty common to see, Pepper Coyote, they're all very good musicians, and maybe even some new talented musicians. Always attend their panels because they really do a lot of good work for the community, and you can even listen to it at home if you also buy their album. Guest of honor panels. Again, the selected guest of honor may host a panel, which is kind of customary to cons anyway. And hey, here's a good tip that I do. I take my convention booklet that the convention gives me. I flip open to the page of where the guest of honor is, and I have the guest of honor sign their picture in the guest booklet. I think it's a very good idea because, hey, if you don't have a pen and paper handy, the guest of honor should have a pen or a Sharpie or something. And hey, at least you'll have paper with your convention booklet. Always just keep it around just in case you bump into them. Carl says, yes, there's definitely some hidden gems in the more local artists doing music performances. I always support local musicians and businesses. Always give it a shot because you never know if you would fall into a new category of interest. There's always going to be fursuit parades or photos or photo shoots. On that slide at the bottom, that's Anthrocon's photo shoot from, I believe, 2019. If you're gathering to do a mass photo, just be prepared to be in suit for maybe an hour or maybe an hour and a half. Just stay hydrated whenever you're in suit. It's very important to stay hydrated because suitors have passed out at cons from heat stroke, and it's a big deal. 2 hours later, yes, Shadow. Maybe a fursuit dance competition and possibly a talent show. A lot of cons do this, not all, but if you have a fursuit, take advantage of it. And finally, community submitted events and panels, just like this one. I'm not official staff, but I am a member of the community, and I offered to host this panel, which I do not regret. But yeah, if you've been to cons here and there, oh yeah, thank you for relinking it, Shadow. Pardon me. Anybody can host a panel just as long as it garners interest to most. You're at a furry community event because people will be interested in anime and anthropomorphic works and video games. I mean, most of us are guys. We all like it. But there's nothing wrong with hosting a panel, maybe your second or third time. I didn't do it my first time. Maybe just go to a convention and watch and see, just lurk a little bit, see what goes on. But yeah, it's definitely a good thing to host a panel because we need more events at conventions. Now, next slide, the 6-2-1 rule for self-care. This is very, very important because you don't want to end up stinky at a convention. Now, 6-2-1 stands for 6 hours of sleep per night, 2 meals a day, and 1 shower a day. This is the bare minimum that you should get per night, and I'm kind of guilty because I got 5 hours of sleep per night. I broke the 6-2-1 rule. But it's not exactly a law that you should follow, but really you should follow it. I recommend it. Now, another thing that's very recommended at furry conventions is drinking lots of water and washing your hands. Just stretch your legs, stretch your arms, and just get the blood flowing. Be sure to check the time in case you if you're missing a panel, because I have missed panels before. It's a shame, but things happen. Um, pardon me, I gotta correct my neck. Um, but fursuit etiquette. By the way, Yappy, thank you for letting me use a picture of you for this slide. You will see fursuiters at furry conventions, and it's important that you do respect the person under the costume. Just remember, they're under very intense temperatures, and they don't have much sight or hearing under that head. But heck, they can even have a medical condition, maybe osteoporosis, that could limit them from strenuous activity or lift hugs. Because I have seen videos of people complain about that before. Cranston says missing an event you wanted to see is a small sacrifice for your health. Yes, I do recommend following the 621 rule instead of going to a panel, because you do have to take care of yourself every single day. But just be respectful to fursuiters. Don't touch or take photos. Don't just maybe it's better to ask for a photo, but again, just never touch without permission, and make sure you don't have Cheeto fingers before touching their suit, because again, I have heard horror stories from various fursuiters saying, "Oh, this guy had really greasy hands and they touched my suit," and I don't want to see that happen to more fursuiters. So again, for newcomers going to furry conventions for the first time, just ask before touching the fursuiter or hugging them, and that's just a general rule, and for everybody specifically, unless you're a fursuiter or you're a fursuit handler. A fursuit handler is somebody who helps take care of a fursuiter, keep them in check, make sure they're hydrated. Just don't go into the headless lounge, because it's just more of a privacy concern, and it's a safe zone for all I don't think I've seen a in real life furry convention that doesn't have a headless lounge. But really, it's a privacy thing, and they're just very fatigued and tired from being under 100-degree Fahrenheit, by the way, fursuits for hours, because again, they just need to rest. Next slide. But feel free to ask questions now. This is the area where I'm starting to run out of slides for conventions, so feel free to ask questions. This is an age-appropriate panel, so make sure your panel is kid-friendly. Now, if you have any trouble, whether it's a major issue or a minor issue, it needs to be addressed. There will be convention staff for you, convention security. Sometimes they'll be in vests, but maybe sometimes they'll also just have a convention shirt with the word security on it. Check for badges, make sure it says security or staff. Just be careful. There should be a little section in the convention center labeled convention operations or con ops. You can go in there and ask any question you need to, whether it's a concern, lost and found, or where to find this restaurant in the area. But they may have also a city guide to any restaurants or shops in the area. It's a good idea to also show staff respect, just as much as possible, because they're under a lot of stress and they're volunteers and they're working their butts off just to make sure that this convention's proper for everybody. Yes, Carl says that at some cons it's also called attendee services. That is correct, but sometimes convention operations and really guest services or now for things oriented to hotels, I would just ask hotel staff rather than convention staff. But ConOps is usually the place that you would go for any questions. Now, I'm out of slides regarding the going to a convention, so this is a perfect time to ask questions regarding going to a convention. Now, 7th phase is just going home. Unfortunately, all things do have to come to an end, and just make sure that you finish conducting your business. Make sure you haven't won anything in the convention auction, because you will go home and then you'll have to pay a shipping fee for the item to get to you. I have done that before, actually, last AnthrocCon. And just make sure you have finished conducting business with vendors and artists. If you commission somebody on site and it's meant to go to you before the convention ends, make sure you talk to them before you leave, because again, shipping fees are a pain. Pick up your artwork and merchandise and artist auctions and everything. Doug Bite asks, do conventions have good air conditioning? I mean, it really depends, because it also depends on the climate of the place you're going to. I know at Megaplex, FWA, and at Anthrocon, there are individuals who will carry things like leaf blowers or portable box fans around, and they will blow you dry and make sure you're not sweaty. But there's usually, pardon me, there are usually water fountains around the convention center with little disposable cups, and it's kind of customary at all furry conventions to begin with. Again, stay hydrated. It's very important. Stay cool. But the reason why humans sweat is also because it's supposed to keep us cool. So sure, it looks gross, it looks stinky, but we need to sweat. Okay. Quez Snowfox asks, on the monetary aspect of getting ready to go to a furry convention, how much is a good amount to have for a first con? I'm worried that I wouldn't bring enough and end up without food for a day or something. Now, I don't know what country you live in, so I don't know what your currency is, but among American dollars, I think it's good to have. It really depends. Like the bare minimum you should probably bring is maybe $100 per day for like food and hotel, and I guess backup emergencies, because you could always use the leftover money for something. But if you're keen on buying vendor goods and merchandise, maybe bring an extra $50 per day. So I would just probably say $150 per day to have a good time. But this is the fact after you buy your hotel, after you buy your airport tickets, and your convention registration. So just keep about 150, like $100 to $150 a pocket change around, preferably in cash, because not all vendors will accept card. Carl says he's seen some cons where non-suitors were freezing and cons where everybody was sweating bullets. Yes, it does happen. Again, just check the climate of the place you're going to before you go to the convention. And okay, it's 12:40. It looks like we have 20 minutes to go, so good. I actually have ample time, so I'm really happy about how well I paced myself. Ooh, okay. Very good tip from Cranston. He says, one common way to remember how to budget is fresh tea, food, registration, emergencies, stuff, hotel, transport. In fact, I could probably write that down. I could have been writing this entire time, but I actually did writing for my last panel at Furality, and I felt like it slowed down and I paced myself horribly. But food, registration, emergencies, stuff, hotel, transport. Very good tip, Cranston. Thank you. Okay, Rue says, try not to carry mass wads of cash all the time either. Right, and just be careful whenever you're traveling anywhere, because, I mean, you don't know how sketchy things could be. Also, Pyro Kitsune says $12 to $15 a meal on average in the US. So 3x3 meals, you got to have 3 square meals a day. $140 for food in general, and it's better to overplan than have extra money then run out. My bad. Yeah, that's a pretty good ballpark. I'd say $100 to $150, because meals on average are about $15, and you may want to buy like a snack or two, especially if you're a lard fatty like me. But again, just before checking out, make sure you have your phone, your wallet, your keys, and essentials and everything. Be sure to leave a $10 or a $20 bill for the cleaning maid whenever you leave your hotel for the last time. Carl recommends his budget is $100 for the dealer den, $100 for food, and $50 for emergencies, all per day. Again, if you're trying to budget yourself or if you're going to your first con, again, as somebody said, it's good to over plan and have more money than less. So, um, just make sure you can fit everything in your luggage. Just say goodbye to your friends, exchange contacts with them, and maybe message them on Telegram or Twitter of the like, Facebook maybe. um, you got to check out the hotel. Just make sure you watch for unexpected hotel fees. And you got to find transportation back to the airport if applicable. I have actually last Anthrocon I did have trouble with this. Um, I was trying to find a ride back to the airport, and I was asking like so many strangers I exchanged contacts with on Telegram. Do you have a ride back to the airport? I need help. And my flight was like 2 hours, and I was kind of rushing to get back there. Um, from the Anthrocon Convention Center to the airport, it's about a 45-minute drive. So yeah, that was quite a trip. Um, but again, just taxi, bus, city transport. Just be careful. Um, just again, make sure you have everything: your phone, wallet, keys, essential luggage. Now, post-con depression. Not everybody will go through post-con depression, but if you go to your first or second furry convention, you're more susceptible to have PCD. I certainly did. I don't really get it that much anymore, because you got to have good coping skills, which will happen in the next slide. But Postcon syndrome or convention withdrawal, it's a variety of conditions that some but not all con goers go through after an event. And of course, severity of PCD depends on the person, but convention withdrawal is actually not furry exclusive. It happens to anime fans and sci-fi fans too. Usually it's stress or exhaustion. Of course, that's normal after a con because I tracked my steps during a con once and I walked 15 miles in one day. um, Separation anxiety, maybe from your convention friends, or maybe you just realize you spent a little bit too much during this convention. It's really good to budget, and which is why I really recommend it. And maybe you'll develop con crud or some sick ailments. Go to your doctor, maybe get some antibiotics, get yourself checked out if you're feeling con cruddy. Um, but some people may even have temporary difficulty just readjusting to daily life. Maybe they've had maybe during the weekend, maybe they had a relative pass away, or maybe they got fired from their job. Who knows? I mean, real life is wild. I mean, it's very unexpected, and you gotta expect the unexpected. But again, not everybody will get post-con depression, but it's more likely to happen after your first real life convention. Pardon me. And yes, let your friends know that you get home safe. Thanks, Cranston. And here's some ways that you could cope with post-con depression. It's good to exchange contacts with friends that you met at the convention, artists, and maybe just some people you find friendly. Talk with them over the internet. You can always look through con pictures that you took and reminisce of memories. You could always plan your next con. Go through your merchandise and things you got at the dealer's den, your art, your souvenirs, and just keep browsing furry content. There's websites for that. There's for Affinity, there's So Furry, DeviantArt, I guess. If that's still relevant, is DeviantArt still relevant? Sorry. Again, Telegram. I recommend Telegram. It's a messaging app for those who don't have it. I guess there's furries on Twitter and Facebook too. But very recently, people have been starting furry gatherings in virtual reality. Now, I'm in a game called VR Chat, and people will be in VR Chat every single day. I have friends in VR Chat. I have a big menu of friends, and people will hang out. I mean, it's really fun. Sometimes you just stare in front of a mirror. Maybe next time I'll have a panel about VR Chat, or just VR in general. But furry gatherings in VR is very fun. It's very interactive, and I think it's actually better than just staring at a 2D screen and text RPing with your friend. Yeah, exactly, Pyro. Post-con depression is basically withdrawal. It's just a drop in all your happy hormones, your serotonin. Sabi says that VR chat's a very great way to meet other furries. In my experience, FurHub is a great place to start. Yes, there is a world called FurHub in VR chat, and it's a good place to hang out and meet people. You will find avatars there. Let's see how much time do I have? Okay, I have 15 minutes. Great. And just use some healthy relaxation techniques. Drink some tea and meditate and yoga. Do some deep breathing. And just do what you normally do to keep yourself happy. But you'll get through it in maybe a couple days, if not a week. It's not too major, but again, if you have a more serious life event happen during that time, of course, it'll take longer than others. But again, it varies on the person. But that's the furry convention experience. Yay, confetti. Now, just again, one last thing. I did mention you do have to be careful with who you meet online, and this is not just exclusive to the internet, furries as well. I know everything's online, and temptation to meet somebody far away. I mean, it's not always bright and happy. I mean, some people do have some not so good motives, but really the best you could do is use your best judgment. Maybe bring a real friend, your parent. There have been instances. I've never seen it at furry conventions, so just keep an eye on your food because somebody could probably drug your food. Again, just be safe, be careful, watch your back. Just remain in well-lit public places. Don't go into back alleys. But really, just remain in places where you can be seen at all times. Maybe except for your hotel room, but just don't stay anywhere you don't feel comfortable at. And there's always convention security and staff for there for you to help. Now, I included a phone number for those in the USA reporting human trafficking and domestic abuse. But I guess it's also a good thing to memorize the phone number of local police. But if you're traveling to America, the emergency number is 911. Yeah, I'll write that down. Just for those who aren't from the US, this is the number for national. Oh, I'm not for emergencies. 911's a good number to remember, and don't forget to educate yourself. If you do live in America, don't forget 911 exists. But of course, it's like serious emergencies only. You're being mugged, or I don't know. It's very life threatening. Just call 911 if you're in a life threatening situation. Again, just use your best judgment and be very careful at anywhere really. Yes, very good tip for everyday living, Uber. Be very careful about giving out essential info about where you work and your real address. But that's all I have to say. And these are the conventions that I used as reference. I talked about Anthrocon a lot because that's the convention I've been to the most. I have used Megaplex as reference as well, and FWA, but some other smaller cons I used a convention in Japan that I went to. It's really fun doing that. I want to go back to Japan. Carl says, even as adults, always meet online friends in public areas. Always a good idea. And again, there is convention security that can help you through it. And there's Western PA Furry Weekend. In fact, I think they will be having an online con in late October. I would recommend going to it. And I don't know if Furloween's doing anything, but I recommend them as well. They're another Orlando Furry Con. And here's the Q&A section. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me on any of these websites. Again, if you don't mind posting the URL to the slideshow again, you could click on those top links right there for Telegram, Twitter, and maybe my VR chat username. But feel free to contact me in any way if you have any questions about in real life furry conventions or VR chat for that matter. I'll spend the last few minutes, 10 minutes, should I say, just answering some questions during the panel. And let me know if you guys have any questions, as I said like the past 5 times. Also, you could also ping me in the Megaplex online chat on Telegram. My name is @Dagger150 on Telegram. But also, if your question did not get answered, you could talk to me on any of those platforms. Now, all right. Rue says that it's a party, not a convention. Oh, it was canceled this year. Yeah, I figured it was more of a party than a con. I think whenever I went and I think it was 2016 or 2017, there was about 200 people, but it's a nice local party con around Halloween. Um, Moderator Shadow says 2020 will be very hard on every charity, but again, we can make a difference at CARE. So please donate, and there's a link provided there. Really, donate. Please donate to CARE. I recommend it. Yes, Blinky says that real-time location sharing to a trusted friend or family member is also good. If you have a GPS on your phone, there is a option on Telegram that you can share your location for up to 8 hours to a friend or family member. I guess that is a good idea. Yeah. But again, location will drain the battery on your phone, and you want to save as much battery on your phone as possible. Now, Uber asks, does anybody have any info about sharing rooms at last minute? Do you have if you have a spare bed or floor space? I haven't had to deal with last minute room sharing, but again, it's just kind of like hotel registration is very first come first serve for major conventions. So more than likely you will have to room with somebody at a major convention like MFF or Anthrocon or maybe Megaplex. I don't know if Megaplex is that big yet. I'm sorry. But I have seen people have instances of renting out floor space for reduced price. So just do that. I wouldn't recommend it if you have a bad back. Maybe bring an air mattress if you have enough room, and if it fits in the hotel room. But again, it's just really last minute hotel registrations and room sharing. It's a battle royale, really. Like it's it's kind of a fight. And if you're pretty much not finding any options for hotel sharing, maybe it's just best not to go. Now, Carl says that Telegram supports GPS sharing as well as Facebook Messenger, and there are separate apps such as Glimpse, GLYMPSE. Uber says, is that a good idea or a bad idea for that room sharing? It really depends on what you could get. I would recommend, like, if you could get a cot or a bed, I would recommend it. But floor, I personally think it's a really bad idea. Pyro Kitsune says that Megaplex has a chat specifically that springs up for helping with transit and sharing rooms. Okay, good to know. Maybe I'll do that next Megaplex. Let's see. Carl says, yes, there are sites for room sharing, like Conroomies. I don't know if that's .com or .net. But personally, I would never room with a stranger, and it depends on how your tolerance for potential trouble is. Again, I've never had trouble with furries in a room, unless they're hyper drunk. But again, you just got to be careful. Let's see here. Moderator Shadow says, how would you budget for food? I did say I would probably bring a total of like 100 to 150 US dollars per day. Food generally in the US is about $10 to $15 per meal, and as I said, if you have a big appetite like I do, maybe $20 for food. And yeah, you could always bring your own food too. Maybe some snacks for the plane, or if you're driving, yeah, maybe bring a cooler, like a portable cooler that you could plug into the wall. Because I used to have one of those. Yeah, again, if you don't want to overspend on restaurant meals or pizza, and if you prefer to eat healthy or have a specific diet, I would bring your own food. Pyro Kitsune says the food court, just try to avoid it, generally is a money sink. Well, all restaurants in general is, and the city's making good money from tourism. So there is that. You are benefiting by supporting local restaurants. Food court, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, if it's right there and if it's in the convention center or the lobby, I'd probably do it if you're really that hungry for that type of food. Now, Shatani says that if your hotel room has a mini fridge, then bringing food's a very good way to save money, because you could always just store your leftovers in there. Sorry, I got to scroll up because I got to see what's up. Yeah, the hotel room is very likely not to charge you if you just store food in there, just as long as you don't take it out and consume the item in the mini fridge. They shouldn't charge you, but yeah, use the hotel mini fridge for freezing and cooling some leftover items, maybe some my personal favorite, leftover Chinese food. 1 second. Carl brought a lunchbox to a local con and realized having it hot in a hot car was not a good idea. Yeah, I would agree. Food poisoning is a thing too. Just be careful. No questions to answer right now, but that's all there is. And again, thank you for your time. Quaz says that he has social anxiety. Hey, I'm proud of you. You can. I'm thank you for showing up to this panel and voicing your questions. Really, I appreciate it. It's a little bit more manageable with online furry conventions, but in real life, yeah, people do get shy and isolated, and I guess some people just buy a fursuit to cope with that too. To make good friends at a con, really, just go to your favorite panels. Like if you have a interest panel, like I don't know, the avians fur meet, or maybe like a aquatic furs meet some of your local species and fellow furries. For me, whenever I was just getting into going to conventions, I stayed in the video game room and I met other gamers. So that's how I did it. Some people buy fursuits and some people attend online cons. And I personally, I think social anxiety, it's a pain, but I think it's very more manageable with online cons because you could just log in and out at your own will. Thanks, Rue. Yeah, this is my second time hosting a VR furry convention panel, but thank you, Rue. Most of us have very bad social anxiety, crippled by shyness. Yeah, I have noticed that with a lot of furries. Just treat everybody with respect, please, because they're brave enough to come to this convention and they spend a lot of money to come here, just like you. Great thing about conventions is that there's people of all types. So yeah, there's never a dull moment of people you can meet. Thanks, Shatani. Let's see. The game room's a really good way to meet. Yep, that's how I did it. Thanks, Pyro. Let's see. My avatar is adorable. Hey, thank you, dog. Thanks, Dogbite. The person who I commissioned for my VR chat avatar is Milkpot JP. It's right there in my little picture on the right side. They're very expensive though. But hey, thank you, Dogbite. So yeah, some people are social butterflies and some have anxiety. But again, there's people of all types. And again, thank you everybody for attending this panel. If you guys have any further questions, feel free to contact me on any of those URLs, social media links. And again, you can always save this slideshow to your computer, or if you want to get in touch with me, or really, thank you, everybody. Thank you for all the lovely compliments. And I hope I get to see everybody at the next convention. All right, everybody. I think my time is up. Yep, it's 12:59. So thanks, everybody. Bye.